So they're
Can you
special products. So
can you break down the controversy there is with brassicas and needing frost for the deer to eat? Because I don't see it.
I don't
When
find
I
that at all.
no when
yeah,
they just hammer them.
I just kind of laugh at that one. I mean, oftentimes yes, when they freeze, they go through a molecular change, and some of the starch turn to sugar, and it is a sweeter bulb and
Yeah,
whatnot.
for sure.
However, the way we design our brassica mixes, by using different varieties and manipulating plant maturity levels, we'll have deer in them July, August, September, October, November. I mean, that
Yep.
it doesn't take a frost for any of our products to be effective.
Hmm.
Those greens in those plants are 20 to 30% protein, high protein forage. So, um, yeah, that's a myth in my opinion. Um,
Right.
I just we often, a lot of times we often promote it like doesn't require cold weather to be effective.
Hmm.
You know, so it's one of those funny things. Now I will say that by manipulating when you plant certain things, you can kind of dictate how and when deer will feed in them.
Hmm.
Certain
So
maturity dates and things. Yeah.
absolutely, I believe there's a lot of truth to that.
You're right.
Plant really early to attract them later. Plant later to attract them earlier.
Yeah.
That's just manipulating maturity levels. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, golly, yeah, I'd like to think someday we'll get over the fact that you're gonna eat brassicas pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. So you've started offering uh, some pH testing and things there now. I've noticed. And
Yeah.
how's that working out for you guys?
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's a step that a lot of people still skip just because
Oh, for
it's one more
sure.
step. So
Yep.
all of our mixes are designed to be as adaptable as possible. But anytime you can check the soil, we have an instant one that just gives you pH levels, and then we have a comprehensive that gives you the breakdown. And anytime we know that and can amend it appropriately and or make suggestions based off of what the soil offers, it's just going to benefit the planter. The more information
Mm-hmm.
you have about the soil environment, the better off your plots are going to be. So,
I
I
mean,
mean, without
I had a couple of guys get a hold of me. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Is he still talking?
no,
He cut
I was
out.
just gonna say that soil's the foundation. I mean, that's where it all starts.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I
Yeah, I have
had
a
someone get a hold of me and they're like, "Oh, I planted this blend and I didn't see any of this grow, but this grew great out of the bucket, you know." And I'm like, "Well, obviously something's off in your soil test, so now it's time to brush up on that and get that fixed." I said something was wrong nutritionally with your soil, you know.
yep, yeah, it can be that simple.
Yep.
so Mike. Two questions. So the first one, besides like an annual or perennials as your clover brens, as far as annual goes, what would you say your most browse tolerant annual mix is?
Ooh, what time of the year?
Will be for the fall.
Yeah, I mean, oh, golly, there's we have options now.
Right.
I would have immediately said showstopper, because they're going to eat it early, but it's going to have some regenerative growth from that hybrid brassica. But
Hmm.
now that we've incorporated bombshell in that has two different plant varieties that'll do that, and hall pass and green machine that have some grains to back you up, um, we've really tried to integrate more and more of those, Dave, where you're going to get more forage production, more browse tolerance, um, because we've got so many folks like myself who are planting small plots on properties that have a lot of deer pressure.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I
and like you
planted.
said earlier too, I want to highlight it. You mentioned this right when you started. Those perennials, the hot chicken comeback kid, are going to be as graze tolerant as anything. So,
Yeah.
Now, my second question is, um, I'm not an expert on anything, but when it comes to alfalfa,
yeah,
your comeback kid blend has a bunch of clovers and some alfalfa in it.
it does. Yep.
Say the following year somebody wants to frost seed comeback kid into it again.
Yep.
I know that alfalfa,
Yeah.
if you have an existing stand, and you try to plant alfalfa into it, the existing alfalfa will kill the new alfalfa. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think there's about 7% alfalfa in there in our
Okay.
comeback kit. So it's a small amount, but it's a great variety. It's a really cold tolerant one that works well with clover. But yes, so when you frost seed comeback kit into comeback kit, if you have alfalfa existing, depending on how many years it's been growing, if an alfalfa seed lands near an existing plant, that existing plant won't allow the new one to germ.
Okay.
Now,
Gotcha.
if it lands elsewhere, which is probably more likely just because of the low ratio of alfalfa plants in the mix, you can integrate more alfalfa into your stand, as long as it's not in close proximity to an existing plant. So,
Okay. So you could
it's
still
my
have new alfalfa grow. It just depends where the
100%.
seed lands.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
So it's my favorite mix to frost seed, and we do a ton of frost seeding. I mean, just
Yep.
why not use Mother Nature to incorporate more perennials on your property?
Oh,
So.
geez. I put so much clover in this year. It was ridiculous, and it was great. I mowed it so many times just to keep it from going haywire.
Every
You know,
time we recorded a podcast, you were mowing clover.
every week I was mowing. Well, the stuff kept growing. It was going out of control,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted
There
it
you
to
go.
look. I wanted to look well manicured for my pictures that I post, and
Yeah, I
it
tell you
looked
what,
great, man. You should
we
see how many comments I get on that.
oh
Oh my
yeah,
gosh!
nothing beats a well manicured clover plot. The deer like it too when you mow
Oh,
that.
for
So
sure, for sure.
that's a win. That's a win-win.
Now, how about this? I had a guy. I don't want to say attack me, but I had a guy come on board with me here, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Why would I want to use this green machine or no BS? It's just full of oats." I said,
Yeah,
Have you watched any of my videos?" He's like, "Well,
yeah,
no, but what?" What can you tell me about this? I'm like, what do you mean? I said, my go-to is no BS. I said, if you look at any of my videos, you will see no BS. And I said, I'm going to let you in on a secret. How do you think I shoot so many does every year? I said, I'm shooting them out of no BS plots. It's my
yep,
go-to. I said,
yep.
but as far as the oats are, I said, I don't think you can beat them. I mean, that gets everything. It's kind of like your what do you call that?
They're basically a nurse crop.
Nurse crop. I was looking for nurse. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
nurse crop for what's up and coming. And I said, if you look at my videos from this year, I didn't plant no BS this year, but I said, if you look at what I call the green mile, the buffer strip along the edge of my woods, it is such lush clover. And guess what it was? I didn't touch it. It was last year's no BS.
Mm.
yeah,
And I
yep.
said, it is so thick and lush. And I said, this is the benefit that you will have from planting something last year. So everything you do this year is going to benefit you next year.
Sure
You know,
does.
but I
Yep.
mean, so what would you tell a guy that says, I wouldn't want to use that? It's just full of oats. You know, I mean,
Yeah, I wish states would allow you to label your seed based on weight, or sorry, based on seed count, not by weight.
mm,
Um, because there's actually more clover seeds in that mix than there are oats, which is funny. But the the weight of the oat makes it 40% of the mix, when in theory it's 10% of the mix.
okay.
So I mean, it's one of those things where when you look at Green Machine and No BS and even Hall Pass, when you look at them, it's like, wow, these are really grainy from a visual standpoint. And maybe in the first 10 days of growth they look that way,
Yeah.
but as the plants mature, by 2 months of growth, you can't even hardly see the grains in them anymore. Whether it's grays or just they're there as a nurse crop to get everything else going. So they're definitely not a filler. I can promise you that. They're food, but they're also a nurse crop to help
For
everything
sure.
kind of establish and get going. So
Yep. Yep.
No BS is probably our most overlooked product. I mean,
It's my favorite.
it's a Swiss Army knife of Swiss Army knives. It's probably our best hunt plot that we offer. It's as good a mix as we've got from a
Yeah.
plant variety standpoint to a no equipment necessary standpoint to a
Yeah.
big plot to a small plot to a beginner to an expert. I mean, dang, it's as good as they get.
Yeah, I've used it in the woods for my kill plots. I've used it out in the middle of a field for destination, and it
Yep.
just produces wherever I put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. When we launched that thing, we marketed it poorly. We called it a throw and grow. So people thought the only way they could use it was a throw and grow, and that's far from the case. I mean, it's like I said, it's probably our best hunt plot that we offer.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure.